If you're still pricing by the hour or you don't know how to price your work, maybe you're just starting out with your freelance career or your creative business, then this video is for you. Hello, I'm Rebecca from Same Studio, and in this video, I'm going to break down the three main pricing strategies that freelancers or creative business owners typically use: hourly-based pricing, project-based pricing, and value-based pricing. Let's start with hourly. This one probably feels safe to you. It's something you are likely familiar with already, and it's a really simple pricing strategy to use. If you want to learn more about hourly pricing and when it makes sense and go into detail there, I have a whole video on that on our channel, so check that out if you want to go into more depth. Hourly pricing, while yes, is simple, it has a lot of cons. Mainly the issue is if you are really fast, you will be punished for that, because if you do your work, let's say in 3 hours, and someone else would take 6 hours for that, you would get less money, even though it's a benefit that you are fast at what you do. The other thing that makes it tricky is that clients tend to start asking you how long are things going to take, which one takes a lot of admin, because you have to think about how long your work is going to take. You're going to have to communicate that with your client, and it just makes the whole process and the creative process super annoying, because there's a lot of back and forth between you and the client about the hours that it's going to take to do the work, while you could just be doing the work instead. Having said that, hourly can work in certain situations. We use it in certain situations. For example, we have retainers with our clients, so they book 10 hours a month with us, and we bill that up front, and they can use those hours how they like, whenever they like, within that 1 month period. It also makes sense if you have clients that you are doing maintenance work for, where the work is ongoing, it's small, it's a lot of little tasks at a time, and you don't feel like you want to make a whole project scope out of that. Which brings me to the second pricing model that I'm going to look at in this video, and that's project-based pricing. Project-based pricing is usually what you do once you've gotten past that first year of freelance, maybe less, depending on how much experience you gain in that time, and you start to feel like you want to be offering things at a higher price. And one way to do this is to offer your work as a flat fee. The flat fee is beneficial not only to you because you can add more value to that, it's also beneficial to your client because they know exactly what they're going to pay. There are no surprises. There's no asking how long is this going to take, and then worrying on their end that might take longer and might end up being more expensive. Personally, I prefer project-based pricing over hourly-based because not only is there transparency, there's also more financial security for you. Why? Because if you have a project going over 3 months, you can bill that in installments. You can have the client pay 50% upfront, another percentage in the middle of the project, and then the final percentage at the end of that. You have a steady income source for those 3 months that project is going on, and it's not like doing hourly work, small tasks, where if you do a lot of that, yes, the sum of it is nice, but when you have one project that has a nice sum, it's a lot of money at once. The key to making project-based pricing work is to define really clear boundaries on the scope. You don't want to end up in a situation where there's scope creep happening. When you're creating a project-based price and a scope, be super specific about what the scope is, how many feedback rounds are included, so you don't end up doing a lot more work and you've already negotiated a flat fee that doesn't actually represent what you ended up doing. The third pricing model we're going to look at is value-based pricing. So you might have already heard about value-based pricing from people like Chris Do. He's probably the most notable person who talks about this in the creative industry. And while I do think value-based pricing can work, and I think it is a very good pricing model, it isn't necessarily one that you're going to use with every client, and you also don't have to use it with every client. Why is value-based pricing so difficult? It involves you having a lot of experience. It involves you having a lot of clout. I personally don't think that people just starting out can do value-based pricing, usually because the clients that come to them are not the type of clients that will react well to that kind of a pricing strategy. So what is value-based pricing? Basically, value-based pricing is looking at how valuable is this project to the client and how much are they willing to invest in this, assuming they are going to get a lot of return from that initial investment. If you sell something for $1,000, the client ends up making $1 million because of your work, then you likely undercharged for that. So how do you avoid undercharging when you're doing value-based pricing? It really comes down to asking the clients the right questions to guide them towards them understanding how much this project is worth to them, and then them being willing to invest in that because they see there's going to be a huge return. It is an advanced pricing model. I wouldn't recommend it to someone just starting out, but if you are someone who has been doing project-based pricing for a while, you have clients who have big budgets, or they are potentially willing to invest a lot in creative services, then this is a pricing model that you can explore with clients like that. So let's compare these three pricing models and how that could look with the same deliverable. So let's say you are designing a brand identity. Your hourly rate is $60 an hour. That would make $60 an hour. Let's wait, I need to do a calculation. Let's say you spend 20 hours on that. That would be $1,200 for that brand identity. It's a good sum. It's an okay amount if you're one person. If it really only takes you 20 hours, that's okay. But let's say you want to charge a little more for that because you want to charge a project rate, then you wouldn't base it only on your hourly rate. You would base it on other things like scope, what is the level of effort involved, how complex is the work that I am doing, and what is the value of that. You could charge something that goes more towards $2,000 because you're offering this as a package and not as hours that you are tracking and that you are billing. Let's take that same project. Let's say this is for a client that is investing in something and they're expecting a huge return based off of the brand identity that you are doing for them. It's helping them launch a product that is worth a revenue expected of $100,000. Then you can probably charge upwards of $5,000 for that. Honestly, the sky is the limit when it comes to value-based pricing. I am trying to keep these prices a little more conservative in this video so they are realistic to people working on their own. When you are doing value-based pricing and you're able to ask the right questions, the sky is the limit on what you can charge here. The reason why I want to compare these three models here is that we're talking about the same work, the same amount of effort with very different prices. And this is the reality in the creative industry. When you see one person charging $1,000 for something and you see another person charging $5,000 for that, it depends on a lot of different factors. In some cases, it's simply the company size. Obviously, an agency is going to be offering different prices to a freelancer, but there's another reason for that, and it's not just the fact that they have more fixed costs. It's also that their value is higher because they're a whole team working on this project and they can offer a more complex service than someone doing it on their own. And the other really important factor in the different prices that you see in the creative industry is positioning. So you might have a freelancer offering these really high agency prices and they have clients paying that is because they have positioned themselves a certain way where clients look at that company and they feel like, yeah, they are worth that amount and I'm gonna pay that much for this brand identity. It doesn't matter if you're offering hourly based, project based, or value based pricing. Your positioning is super important to be able to execute those pricing strategies successfully. At the end of the day, your pricing model should represent your experience, the project type, the client you're working for and their mindset, how they view the price of creative work and what they are willing to spend. And it's always good to start where you're comfortable. So if you see someone talking about value-based pricing and that is too much for you, you feel like that doesn't fit your brand or your company, that is totally okay. Start off with project-based, and maybe when you gain more experience, you understand clients and how they are, which clients might be willing to spend a little more because they see there's going to be a big return. Then you can start experimenting with a value-based pricing strategy. Let me know in the comments below which pricing strategy you prefer and what you find works best for you. And if you like our content, be sure to subscribe to our channel.